Welcome to the Simple Podcast. I'm Todd C. Slater, the Simple Investor. You know, as Canadians, I think we've all run out of rope for this current government. You know, when they keep talking about budgets, they keep talking about all of their programs, they have to figure out a way to pay for it. Because after all, when you really think about it, what they're creating as far as a national debt, it's going to last for generations. So right now, they're in a massive cash crunch, and they've changed the narrative on capital gains tax. And of course, our idiot leader wants to tell everybody about what a great idea it is and how it's only affecting such a small amount of people that you shouldn't give them any sympathy. Let's take a look at what this asshat has to say.
You may have heard of the capital gains tax, or what some people call the capital gains tax advantage. It's basically where you've made enough money and amassed enough wealth in assets that you end up getting a tax break.
Okay, hang on for a second. Hang on for a second, okay? You know, he immediately makes it sound like, you know, you've amassed, you were given. I mean, give me a break. Capital gains tax is normally earned long term. Let's talk about like the family cottage, for example. You know what? Somebody bought a cottage 50 years ago, it's gone up, and guess what? You've amassed a wealth. No, you utilized an asset for your family, and now all of a sudden, this guy thinks that it should be taxed. Let's see what he says.
If a nurse is making $70,000 a year, or an investment banker has a salary of $800,000 a year, when it comes to paying income taxes, they're both paying taxes on all of that income. That nurse may be living a good life, but she's probably not earning...
Hang on. Can you see how disconnected this jerk is? A nurse making $70,000 could be having a good life. I don't know if he's gone to the grocery store lately, but you know what? He's missing the plot big time. Okay, yes, the nurse is going to pay income tax, and so is the investment banker. That $800 gets cut in half. The nurse, almost. So where this guy even thinks a nurse making $70,000 could be living a good life, I don't know. I'm lost on that one.
Enough to be buying and selling assets like properties, but that investment banker who's making $800,000 a year probably is. He's putting some of his money in assets, like buying and selling properties or shares in companies. He only pays taxes on 50.
So hang on for a second. Let's think about this. So we've got a banker who turns around, makes $800, pays $400,000 in taxes. Hey, you're welcome, jerk. On top of that, he's now investing what? Back into, I don't know, Canada? If they're buying investment properties here in Canada, they're buying, stocks, companies. Don't you want Canadians to invest in Canada, Mr. Trudeau?
50% of the profits he makes. He's not paying 50% in taxes. It means that if he makes $1 million from selling properties or stocks, taxes only apply to $500,000 worth of it. That nurse is paying about 29% in taxes on her full $70,000 salary. But the investment banker, he's only paying taxes on half of the money.
Hang on for a second, though. Here, this is where he starts misleading people. This is after he's taken his after-tax dollars to reinvest it. And here's where this guy keeps missing the plot. So he's lying to us. I don't know, again, numbers. Remember, he's the same guy that doesn't know anything about numbers. So we forget that investment banker already paid 51% income tax on the 800. Let's see what else this jerk has to say.
Selling assets. And it's not really fair.
Oh, no.
So we're going to change that. Starting June 25th, if someone makes up to $250,000 in capital gains, they're still going to pay taxes on only half of that. But for anything they make over $250,000, they're going to pay a little more. They'll pay taxes on 2/3 of that. So the very richest people are going to profit a little less off their assets. These are people who have an average income of $1.4
Whoa. Wait a minute for a second. You know what? This is an outright lie. So you said you weren't sure if that nurse turned around and bought investment properties or investments. How do you know she didn't? And what if she did? Okay, and she had some capital gains on investment property. You want to target people at 1.4. Listen, jerk, you haven't figured it out, but that's not the people you're going after. You're actually going after the middle class that have actually invested back in Canada, provided roofs over people's heads, and actually put money into companies that are Canadian. And yet you want to target everybody once more, saying that it's only the rich and the elite and they should be paying their fair share?
This change to the capital gains tax will result in almost $20 billion in new revenue that will go towards the biggest investment in housing in Canadian history. Revenue that will create a national school food program that will make prescription contraception and insulin available for anyone who needs it. That'll build a national dental care program. See, a fair system creates a fair country. And that's what I want. A fair Canada for every generation.
Except, here's our problem with this guy, and everybody's got to realize this. He sits there and says, a fair Canada. Are you kidding? Mr. Trudeau, where did our money go? Okay, you think that you're going to raise $20 billion? Well, how about this? Don't sell, okay? Screw him and his excess capital gains tax. Here's the thing. Nobody's going to invest in Canada. You're going to lose hundreds of billions of dollars investment in Canada by treating people like this. And on top of that, you continue to write checks like no tomorrow to every other country but Canada. Your $20 billion you're trying to squeeze out. And notice how you picked on the 60 and 70-year-olds. You really think that's the smartest thing to do, considering that the next generation should be inheriting some of this wealth so that they can manage through your tax structure and your increases that you've created? See, this is the thing. You sit there with that smarmy, shit-ass grin on your face thinking you know something. You don't have a clue. You got a silver spoon shoved up your ass. You're worth what, $100 million? Oh, I don't know, from Canadian companies, and yet you want to sit there and start taxing people. And as you said, go after the people that are in the 60s and 70s, okay? You're targeting people that might have owned assets for 30 to 40 years, and now you want to punish them. Oh, by the way, $20 billion. What could we spend $20 billion on? Oh, yeah. How about your staffing, the way you do things? So here's the thing. In Canada, okay, the Canadian Revenue Agency employs 59,000 people, serves 40 million people. That's one every 678 Canadians. Okay, you know what the United States does? Much bigger country, much bigger tax base, and you know what? They employ only 79,000 people, serving 340 million people, and turning around, and so only 4,300 people per one person that's part of the revenue service. When we see shit like this, it makes me want to vomit. I saw this on social media. Everybody turns around and agrees. This guy has lost his way. This is way beyond anything that should come out of a leader's mouth. He keeps believing that everybody should pay their fair share. Well, Mr. Trudeau, the fact that you now have a net worth of almost $100 million, how much of that are you going to give back to Canada? Because it's the only reason why you have it is because you turned around and somehow you got your hands in everybody else's pocket and a company that you had some kind of investment in grew. I'd like to see how much of that you're going to give back. How about we go with, 50% of it? Tell you what, why don't you throw that through and see what else happens? Because in the end, folks, here's the one thing as I wrap everything up as I do every single week. They want to turn around and go after people that are actually true investors in Canada. I don't care if it's real estate. I don't care if it's companies. You know what? We've got lots of business people. They were told to open up their own corporations, make something with some value. That way, guess what? They're the ones that don't have to take from the system. And now here they are. They want to punish absolutely everybody for doing the right thing. Some people may sit there and say, oh yeah, the rich get richer. Well, you know what? Here's the thing. Without the rich, nobody has anything. Without the companies that are going to want to work in Canada, we'll lose employment, we'll lose investment, we'll lose our hospitals, our schools, absolutely everything, because they will continue to tax us to death and nobody's going to want to invest in Canada. Canada is still a great country. Definitely not with this existing government. The most important things as Canadians, as I always say, is make sure you watch out for yourself, invest where you can, and guess what? Don't sell. We don't have to pay capital gains if we don't sell. Hang on to it. Tell you what, I'll teach you how to turn around and refinance something, and you can keep going for generations and generations. If you like my content, make sure you hit subscribe, okay? Would love to have you watch what we have coming up next. And of course, leave your comments. I think that everybody should have a voice on what's happening to us here in Canada. And maybe, you know what? For once, we can stick it back to them.